Have you ever wondered why the same toxic patterns keep showing up in your life? The energy vampires, the endless drama, the moments that leave you drained and doubting yourself. What if the secret to breaking free isn't about fighting those people or situations, but about transforming who you are at your core? Welcome to ZENLIGHT 8, where we dive deep into the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and the cutting-edge insights of modern self-improvement to help you reclaim your peace and power. In today's episode, we're exploring how to become someone chaos no longer recognizes, a version of you so grounded, so unshakable, that toxic energy simply passes you by. Stay with us until the end, because I'm going to share practical, real-world strategies you can start using today to protect your energy, master your mind, and live a life that feels truly yours. Let's dive in. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a stormy sea, waves crashing, wind howling, chaos pulling at you from every direction. Yet there you are, calm, steady, untouched. Not because you've silenced the storm, but because you've built something stronger within you. This is the heart of true boundaries, the kind that don't need to be shouted or defended with words. They're not lines drawn in the sand, easily washed away by the next wave of drama. They're a state of being, forged in silence, clarity, and an unshakable commitment to your own peace. On ZENLIGHT, we're not here to teach you how to argue better or push people away. We're here to show you how to become someone toxic energy can't touch, a person who radiates such quiet strength that chaos no longer knows your name. Let's start with a truth that hits hard. Toxic people don't just show up in your life by accident. They're drawn to something, an openness, a crack in your energy, a part of you that's still seeking validation or closure. Maybe it's the way you feel compelled to explain yourself when someone pushes your buttons, or the way you stay in conversations that leave your chest tight and your mind spinning. I've been there. A few years ago, I had a colleague who thrived on subtle jabs, those backhanded comments that seem harmless but cut deep. Every time I tried to set a boundary with words, it only fueled their game. The more I explained, the more I lost myself. It wasn't until I stumbled across the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius that I realized the problem wasn't them, it was me. Not because I was weak, but because I was giving away my power by reacting, by engaging, by letting their chaos rent space in my head. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't just philosophy, it's biology. Your nervous system is like a tuning fork, vibrating with the energy you allow into your life. When you react to every provocation, your body learns to stay on high alert. Heart racing, cortisol spiking, mind clouded. You're not just stressed, you're conditioning yourself to live in chaos. But here's the game changer. You can rewire that. By choosing silence over reaction, pause over impulse, you teach your brain and body that peace is your default. This is what neuroscientists call internal coherence, a state where your mind, emotions, and nervous system align in calm focus. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about mastering them. Let me share a story. My friend Emily used to be a magnet for drama. Her family gatherings were a minefield of guilt trips and passive-aggressive comments. She'd come home exhausted, replaying every word, trying to figure out how to fix it. Then she started practicing what we're talking about today. Instead of jumping into arguments, she'd take a deep breath, stay silent, and focus on her own presence. At first, it felt unnatural, like she was giving up. But over time, something shifted. Her family didn't magically change, but their words stopped landing. They'd try to bait her, but she wasn't playing anymore. She became a boundary, not by telling them to stop, but by no longer offering her energy to their chaos. 6 months later, she told me, "It's like they don't know how to deal with me anymore. I'm free." This is the Stoic secret. You don't need to control others to protect your peace. You only need to control what you allow within yourself. Every time you choose not to react, you're not just setting a boundary, you're building a fortress. You're teaching your nervous system that you don't need approval to feel safe. You're telling the world that your energy is no longer up for grabs. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop resonating with chaos, it stops finding you. Toxic people don't leave because you fought them off. They leave because you've become someone they can't recognize. You're no longer the person who dances to their tune or bends to their storms. You're steady, grounded, and untouchable. So, how do you start? It's simpler than you think, but it takes discipline. Next time you're faced with a situation that pulls at your peace, a co-worker's snide remark, a friend's guilt trip, a family member's drama, pause. Take one slow, deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. In that moment, you're not just saying no to them. You're saying yes to yourself. Try this for 1 week. Commit to pausing before you react, even just for 5 seconds. Write down how it feels. You'll be amazed at how much power you reclaim when you stop handing it over. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming so anchored in your own clarity that you don't need to fight to be seen. It's about living as a boundary, not just setting one. As we move forward, we're going to explore how what you focus on shapes who you become, because where you place your attention isn't just a choice. It's the key to rewriting your life. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought you nurture, every moment you dwell on, is a seed you're planting. Water the weeds of drama, resentment, or self-doubt, and they'll choke out everything else. But tend to the seeds of clarity, purpose, and growth, and you'll cultivate a life that blooms with peace and power. This isn't just a metaphor, it's how your brain works. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're diving into a truth that Stoicism and neuroscience both confirm: what you focus on, you become. And if you want to break free from toxic cycles, the first step is redirecting your attention from the chaos around you to the strength within you. Let's get real for a moment. How much of your day is spent replaying conversations that went nowhere, analyzing why someone hurt you, what they meant, or how you could have responded differently? I've done it too. I used to spend hours dissecting a single argument with a friend who always seemed to twist my words. I'd lie awake at night, scripting comebacks, trying to make sense of their behavior. But here's what I didn't realize. Every moment I spent focused on their chaos was a moment I was giving them control. My brain was literally rewiring itself to live in that tension, to expect it, to crave it. That's not weakness. It's just biology. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity. Your brain strengthens the pathways you use most. Focus on drama, and your mind becomes a magnet for it. Focus on growth, and you start building a life that repels it. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, warned us about this over 2,000 years ago. You become what you give your attention to. If you're constantly scanning for threats, bracing for the next insult, anticipating the next betrayal, you're training your brain to live in a state of hypervigilance. Your nervous system stays on edge, your energy drains, and before you know it, you're not just reacting to toxic people, you're attracting them. They sense the emotional availability, the part of you that's still trying to prove something or fix what's broken. But here's the shift that changes everything. You can choose where your attention goes. And when you do, you take back the wheel of your life. Think about someone like Michael, a guy I met at a mindfulness workshop. He was stuck in a toxic work environment where his boss thrived on micromanaging and public criticism. Every day, Michael would come home exhausted, replaying his boss's words, wondering how to defend himself. Then he started a simple practice. Every morning, he'd spend 5 minutes focusing on what he could control: his work ethic, his attitude, his breath. Instead of obsessing over his boss's behavior, he poured his energy into his own projects and self-improvement. Over a few months, something incredible happened. His boss didn't change, but Michael did. He stopped reacting to the criticism. He started carrying himself with quiet confidence. Eventually, his boss backed off, not because Michael confronted him, but because Michael's focus had shifted. He was no longer feeding the drama, he was feeding his own growth. This is the Stoic principle of focus in action. You can't control what others do, but you can control where you direct your mind. And that choice rewires everything. When you stop giving your attention to toxic people, you're not just ignoring them, you're dismantling their power over you. Your brain starts to associate peace with progress, not with winning arguments or proving your worth. You begin to feel a surge of energy, not from drama, but from building something real. Whether it's a healthier routine, a clearer mind, or a stronger sense of self, here's how you can start today. Pick one thing in your life that deserves your attention, a goal, a habit, a moment of gratitude. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning to hydrate your body, or writing down 3 things you're proud of each day. Commit to focusing on that one thing for 5 minutes daily, no matter what chaos tries to pull you away. If someone tries to drag you into their drama, notice the urge to engage, but redirect your focus to your breath or your purpose. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy, or am I better than this? Over time, you'll notice something powerful. The things that used to hook you start to feel irrelevant. You're not just avoiding drama, you're outgrowing it. This isn't about cutting people off or shutting down your emotions. It's about choosing what's worthy of your mind's real estate. Because when you focus on what builds you up, you stop leaving room for what tears you down. And that's when the magic happens. Toxic people don't just fade from your life. They stop recognizing you. You've tuned into a frequency they can't reach. As we move forward, we'll explore how silence, far from being passive, becomes your greatest shield, a way to protect your strength without saying a word. Imagine standing in the middle of a heated argument, voices rising, emotions flaring, and instead of jumping in, you take a step back. You breathe, you stay silent. Not out of fear or weakness, but out of a deep, unshakable strength. In a world that equates noise with power, silence is often misunderstood. But here at ZENLIGHT 8, we're redefining it. Silence isn't retreat, it's mastery. It's the ultimate act of self-control, a shield that protects your peace and disarms chaos without a single word. Today we're diving into how silence can become your greatest weapon, not just to survive toxic energy, but to rise above it. Let's paint a picture. You're at a family dinner, and someone, maybe a parent, a sibling, starts pushing your buttons. They know exactly what to say to get a reaction, a snide comment about your career, a subtle dig about your choices. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and every fiber of your being wants to fire back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. That's your nervous system kicking into fight or flight mode, your brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reason, taking a backseat to instinct. It's why arguments spiral, why you say things you later regret, why clarity vanishes when emotions take over. But what if, in that moment, you chose silence? Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of sovereignty. A silence that says, I see your game, but I'm not playing. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. But he wasn't just talking about better conversations. He was talking about restraint, about refusing to let others pull you into their chaos. Silence, when chosen deliberately, is a boundary stronger than any words. It's a refusal to hand over your energy to someone else's drama. It's a declaration that your peace is non-negotiable. And here's the science behind it. When you pause instead of react, you give your nervous system a chance to reset. Your cortisol levels drop, your heart rate steadies, and your rational mind comes back online. You're not suppressing your emotions, you're mastering them. I saw this in action with my friend Jake, a high school teacher who dealt with a colleague who loved stirring up conflict. Every staff meeting, this colleague would throw out passive-aggressive comments, trying to get a rise out of Jake. At first, Jake would argue back, thinking he needed to defend his ideas. But it only escalated the tension, leaving him drained and frustrated. Then he tried something different. The next time his colleague baited him, Jake just nodded, took a breath, and said nothing. The room went quiet. The colleague, expecting a fight, was thrown off balance. Over time, Jake's silence became his power. His colleague stopped targeting him, not because Jake won an argument, but because Jake stopped giving him the reaction he craved. Jake told me, it was like I became invisible to his drama. I didn't have to fight. I just had to stay calm. This is the Stoic truth. Silence isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about transcending it. When you choose not to engage, you're not just protecting your energy, you're rewiring how others interact with you. Toxic people thrive on your reactions. They feed on your defensiveness, your explanations, your emotional leaks. But when you offer silence instead, you pull the plug on their game. They're left with nothing to grip onto, no fuel to keep the fire going. And over time, they either adapt to your calm or drift away, searching for someone else to provoke. Here's how you can practice this today. The next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, whether it's a coworker's gossip, a friend's guilt trip, or a stranger's rudeness, pause for 5 seconds. Feel your breath, ground yourself, and ask, is this worth my peace? Then choose silence. Not a cold, stony silence, but a calm, centered one. You're not shutting down. You're tuning into your own strength. Try this for one day and notice how it feels. Write down one moment where you chose silence over reaction and how it shifted the dynamic. You'll start to see that silence isn't passive. It's a practice of power. This kind of silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. It trains your nervous system to stay steady, your mind to stay clear, and your heart to stay open without being vulnerable. You become someone who doesn't need to shout to be heard, someone who doesn't need to fight to be respected. And as we'll explore next, this inner alignment doesn't just shield you, it changes the energy you attract, making chaos a stranger in your world. What if the chaos in your life isn't random? What if it's a reflection of the energy you're putting out into the world? At ZENLIGHT 8, we believe that the people and experiences you attract are a mirror of your inner state. If your mind is restless, your emotions scattered, your nervous system on edge, you're sending out a signal that chaos recognizes. But when you align your energy, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony, you become a force that repels dysfunction and draws in peace. Today we're diving into how aligning your energy can transform not just how you feel, but who shows up in your life. Let's break this down. Your brain and body are always communicating, not just with words, but with presence. Scientists talk about mirror neurons, those tiny parts of your brain that pick up on the emotions and energy of others, like a radio tuning into a frequency. If you're carrying anxiety, reactivity, or a need to please, others sense it. Toxic people, manipulators, drama seekers, they're drawn to that signal like moths to a flame. Not because they're evil, but because your energy is an open door. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I was stuck in a cycle of friendships that drained me. I'd overextend myself, always trying to keep the peace, always explaining myself to people who didn't listen. It wasn't until I started practicing mindfulness that I realized I was broadcasting a signal of emotional availability, and it was attracting the wrong kind of energy. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience caught up. They taught that external events don't disturb us, our perceptions do. In the same way, the chaos in your life doesn't define you, your inner state does. When you regulate that inner state, you change the frequency you're broadcasting. This isn't woo-woo, it's physiology. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, or even a brisk 20-minute walk can calm your nervous system, lower your stress hormones, and bring your mind into focus. When you're grounded, you stop sending out the signals that chaos thrives on. You become a lighthouse, steady and unshaken, guiding only those who value your light. Take my neighbor Sarah as an example. She used to attract friends who constantly needed her to fix their problems. She'd spend hours on the phone, absorbing their drama, feeling like she had to be their savior. Then she started a simple routine. 10 minutes of deep breathing every morning, followed by journaling her own goals. She focused on what she could control, her time, her energy, her values. Over time, she noticed a shift. The friends who thrived on her availability started calling. Less new people, calmer, more grounded, started showing up in her life. She didn't cut anyone off. She just changed her energy. As she put it, I stopped being a doormat and started being a mirror. People either matched my calm or moved on. Here's how you can start aligning your energy today. Begin with your body. It's the foundation. Try this. For 5 minutes each morning, sit quietly and focus on your breath. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Feel your nervous system settle. Then ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to honor my peace? Maybe it's saying no to a draining conversation or spending 15 minutes on a hobby that lights you up. Track how these small choices make you feel over a week. You'll start to notice that the more you prioritize your calm, the less chaos finds you. This alignment isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming a magnet for better. When you move through life with clarity and purpose, you attract people who respect your boundaries, value your presence, and share your commitment to growth. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature, your true nature. And when you do, the world adjusts. Toxic energy fades, not because you fought it, but because you outgrew it. Next, we'll explore how staying in your lane, focusing on what's yours, can make drama irrelevant and your life unstoppable. In a world that loves to pull you in every direction, there's a quiet power in choosing to stay in your lane. It's not about ignoring the chaos around you. It's about refusing to let it derail you. At ZENLIGHT 8, we're diving into a Stoic principle that's as practical as it is profound. Your energy is finite, and where you spend it shapes your life. When you focus on what's yours, your goals, your habits, your peace, you don't just protect your power, you amplify it. Today, we're exploring how minding your own business can make toxic drama irrelevant and set you free to build a life you're proud of. Let's be honest, it's easy to get sucked into other people's chaos. A coworker's gossip, a friend's endless complaints, a family member's need for you to fix their mess. It's like a gravitational pull, tugging at your attention, draining your energy. I used to fall for it. I'd spend hours trying to mediate conflicts that weren't mine, thinking I was being helpful. But all I was doing was bleeding out my focus, leaving less for the things that mattered. My work, my health, my sanity. The Stoics had a name for this, apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense, but a deliberate choice to stay detached from what doesn't serve you. It's about recognizing that your energy is a precious resource, and you get to decide where it goes. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain has a limited amount of attentional bandwidth. Think of it like a daily budget of about 100 units of focus. Every time you spend those units on someone else's drama, you're taking them away from your own growth. But when you redirect that focus to what's yours, say, learning a new skill, hitting the gym, or even just savoring a quiet cup of coffee, your brain rewards you with a hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical that fuels motivation. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. The more you invest in yourself, the less appealing drama becomes. It's not just that you're avoiding conflict, you're outgrowing it. I saw this play out with my friend David, a small business owner, who was constantly pulled into his employees' personal disputes. He'd spend half his day playing referee, leaving him too drained to focus on his company's growth. Then he made a change. He set a rule. Unless it directly impacted the business, he wasn't getting involved. Instead, he poured his energy into mentoring his team, streamlining operations, and taking care of his own health. The result? His employees started resolving their own issues, his business thrived, and he felt more energized than ever. By staying in his lane, David didn't just avoid drama. He built a life where it no longer had a place. Here's how you can start today. Pick one area of your life where you're overextending yourself. Maybe it's saying yes to every favor or getting pulled into group chats filled with gossip. Set a boundary. For 1 week, redirect that energy to something that builds you up. Maybe it's spending 20 minutes reading a book, taking a walk, or working on a project you've been putting off. At the end of each day, jot down how it felt. To prioritize yourself, you'll start to notice a shift. Drama doesn't just feel less compelling, it feels like a waste of time. Your brain will begin to crave progress over conflict, growth over noise. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being strategic. When you stay in your lane, you're not just protecting your energy. You're investing it in what makes you stronger, clearer, and more aligned. Toxic people lose interest because you're no longer available for their games, and the right people, those who value your focus and respect your boundaries, start to show up. As we move forward, we'll dive into why protecting your peace isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity that can change everything. Your peace isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of everything that makes you, you. At ZENLIGHT 8, we're here to remind you that protecting your inner calm isn't selfish, it's survival. Chronic stress from toxic relationships or endless drama doesn't just wear you down emotionally, it erodes your health, your clarity, and your ability to live fully. Today, we're diving into why peace is non-negotiable and how choosing it over chaos can transform your body, mind, and life in ways you never imagined. Let's get real. We live in a world that glorifies hustle and conflict. We're told to fight for respect, to prove ourselves, to stay in the ring even when it's killing us. But at what cost? Science tells us that chronic stress, say from a toxic friend who's always stirring the pot or a job that keeps you on edge, does more than make you feel bad. It raises your cortisol levels, weakens your immune system, clouds your memory, and even speeds up aging. I learned this the hard way. A few years back, I was stuck in a friendship that was a constant emotional roller coaster. Every conversation left me drained, second-guessing myself, trying to keep up with their demands. I started getting headaches, losing sleep, feeling like I was running on empty. It wasn't until I stepped back that I realized I wasn't just tired. I was letting someone else's chaos rewrite my biology. The Stoics saw this clearly. They taught that peace isn't something you find, it's something you defend. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In other words, you can't always stop the storm, but you can choose whether to stand in it. Protecting your peace means saying no to what drains you, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. It's walking away from conversations that tighten your chest, refusing to argue with someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, choosing silence over a fight that won't change a thing. Take my cousin Lisa as an example. She used to be the family's go-to fixer, always mediating arguments, always smoothing things over. But it came at a cost. She was exhausted, anxious, and starting to resent the people she loved. Then she made a choice. She started prioritizing her peace. She'd politely excuse herself from heated family debates, spend more time on her yoga practice, and set clear limits on how much emotional labor she'd take on. At first, her family pushed back, accusing her of being distant. But over time, they adjusted. They started respecting her boundaries, and Lisa, she felt lighter, healthier, more herself than ever. Her peace became her power. Here's how you can make peace non-negotiable starting today. Identify one source of stress in your life. A person, a habit, a situation that consistently pulls you out of alignment. Ask yourself, what would happen if I said no to this? Then take one small step to protect your calm. Maybe it's muting a group chat that's always negative, or setting a 30-minute limit on draining phone calls. Track how your body feels when you make these choices. Less tension in your shoulders, fewer racing thoughts. Over a week, you'll start to see that peace isn't passive. It's a practice. It's a deliberate choice to value your health over someone else's chaos. This isn't about avoiding all discomfort. Life will always have challenges. It's about refusing to fund your own erosion. When you make peace your priority, you stop bending to keep others comfortable. You start choosing relationships and environments that align with your values. And the result? Your nervous system recalibrates. Your mind sharpens. Your life feels less like a battle and more like a sanctuary. As we move forward, we'll explore how transformation happens not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments where you rebuild yourself. Real change doesn't shout. It doesn't post updates or seek applause. It happens in the quiet moments, the ones no one sees, where you commit to becoming someone stronger, clearer, and truer to yourself. At ZENLIGHT, we're diving into the power of silent transformation. How? Stepping away from the noise of the world allows you to rebuild your inner world. This is where Stoicism and self-improvement meet, in the sacred space of solitude, where you forge a version of yourself that chaos can't touch. Think about the last time you tried to change something big in your life, maybe a habit, a mindset, or a relationship dynamic. If you're like most people, you probably felt the urge to tell everyone about it, to post about your new workout routine, to announce your new boundaries, to prove you're different. I've been there. When I first started practicing Stoicism, I wanted to tell everyone about my new approach to life, how I was going to stay calm, set boundaries, focus on what mattered. But every time I shared too soon, I felt pressure to perform, to live up to the image I'd projected. And that pressure, it slowed me down. It wasn't until I embraced silence that my transformation took root. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius journaled his thoughts not for the world, but for himself. His meditations were private reflections, a space to wrestle with his fears, doubts, and aspirations. That's the key. Real growth needs room to breathe, away from the spotlight. Neuroscience supports this too. Your brain's ability to rewire itself, neuroplasticity, thrives in repetition and focus, not in external validation. When you're constantly explaining your progress or defending your changes, you're diverting energy from the work of becoming. Silence, on the other hand, is like a cocoon. It protects your growth while it's still fragile, letting it solidify before the world weighs in. I saw this with my friend Rachel, who decided to overhaul her life after years of people-pleasing. She used to share every step of her journey on social media, new meditation habits, new boundaries, new goals. But the constant feedback, both positive and negative, left her second-guessing herself. So she went quiet. She stopped posting, stopped explaining, and focused on the work. Daily meditation, journaling, saying no to draining commitments. For 3 months, she built her new habits in private. When she re-emerged, the change was undeniable. Her friends noticed she was calmer, more confident, more present. Toxic people who used to pull her into their drama stopped reaching out, not because she blocked them, but because she'd become someone their chaos couldn't reach. Here's how you can transform in silence starting today. Pick one area of your life you want to change. Maybe it's how you handle stress, how you set boundaries, or how you prioritize your time. Don't announce it. Instead, commit to one small, private action each day. Maybe it's 5 minutes of journaling about your values or a 10-minute walk to clear your mind. Keep it to yourself for at least 30 days. Write down how it feels to build this change without the world's input. You'll find that silence isn't empty, it's fertile. It's where your new self takes shape, free from the pressure to perform. This kind of transformation isn't about hiding, it's about protecting what's growing. Toxic people often sense when you're changing. They'll test you, try to pull you back into old patterns. But when you stay silent, you deny them access to your process. You let your growth speak for itself. And when it does, it's not just a change, it's a revolution. As we move forward, we'll explore how your actions, not your words, become the loudest message you'll ever send. In a world obsessed with words, tweets, posts, arguments, there's a quiet power in letting your actions do the talking. At ZENLIGHT 8, we're diving into a Stoic truth that's as relevant now as it was 2,000 years ago. Don't just say you're changing, live it. Your life becomes a message when your actions align with your values, when your choices reflect your inner strength. Today we're exploring how consistency, not conversation, is the key to transforming your relationships and repelling chaos. Let's be honest, we've all met someone who talks a big game about their goals or boundaries, but never follows through. Maybe you've been that person. I know I have. A few years ago, I'd tell everyone I was done with toxic friendships, that I was setting boundaries, that I was prioritizing my peace. But then I'd pick up the phone for another draining call, or I'd get pulled into an argument I didn't need to have. My words said one thing, but my actions said another. And toxic people? They see that gap. They thrive in the space between what you say and what you do. But when your actions match your intentions, that gap disappears, and so does their power over you. The Stoics had a saying, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This is about living with such clarity and consistency that your presence speaks louder than any speech. Your brain loves this too. Every time you act in alignment with your values, whether it's walking away from gossip, sticking to your morning routine, or staying calm in a heated moment, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing that choice. Over time, those choices stack up, building not just habits but an identity. You become someone who doesn't need to announce their strength because it's evident in how you move through the world. Take my colleague Alex as an example. He worked in a high-pressure office where drama was part of the culture. Gossip, power plays, constant one-upping. Alex used to get sucked in, always trying to prove himself in meetings or defend his ideas. Then he decided to focus on action over argument. He stopped engaging in petty debates, poured his energy into his work, and started showing up early to prepare. Over time, his colleagues noticed. They stopped baiting him, not because he told them to, but because his focus and results spoke for themselves. He didn't need to declare his boundaries. His actions became the boundary. Here's how you can start today. Pick one value you want to embody. Maybe it's peace, integrity, or discipline. Identify one action that reflects that value, like saying no to a draining commitment or spending 15 minutes on a project that matters to you. Do it consistently for a week without announcing it. Notice how it feels to let your actions speak. At the end of the week, reflect. How did this change how others interact with you? You'll find that consistency isn't just powerful, it's magnetic. It sorts your relationships for you, drawing in those who respect your clarity and pushing away those who thrive on your reactivity. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being deliberate. When your actions align with your values, you stop needing to explain yourself. You stop needing to prove your worth. And the people who once drained you, they'll either rise to meet your new standard or fade away. As we move forward, we'll explore how mastering yourself, aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions creates a life where chaos has no place. There's a moment when everything clicks, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, and you feel a kind of peace that's unshakable. At ZENLIGHT 8, we call this mastery. It's not about controlling the world around you, it's about controlling the world within you. When you master yourself, you don't just survive chaos, you transcend it. Today we're diving into how inner coherence, rooted in Stoic wisdom and backed by science, can transform your life into one where toxic energy no longer finds a home. Picture a lighthouse standing tall against a raging storm. Waves crash, winds howl, but the lighthouse doesn't flinch. It doesn't fight the storm. It simply stands, steady and sure, guiding ships to safety. That's what it means to master yourself. It's not about silencing the chaos around you. It's about becoming so grounded that it can't touch you. The Stoics called this inner harmony, living in accordance with nature, your true nature, where reason, purpose, and action move as one. Neuroscience calls it coherence, a state where your brain, nervous system, and emotions are in sync, creating a calm that radiates outward. I learned this through trial and error. A few years ago, I was caught in a cycle of reacting to everything: work stress, family drama, even strangers' rudeness. I felt like I was constantly putting out fires, never in control. Then I started practicing Stoic principles, focusing on what I could control, letting go of what I couldn't, and aligning my actions with my values. I began small, 10 minutes of meditation each morning, journaling about my goals, saying no to commitments that didn't serve me. Over time, I noticed a shift. My mind was clearer, my energy steadier. People who used to trigger me stopped getting a reaction. They didn't change, I did. I'd become someone their chaos couldn't reach. This is the power of coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, you stop leaking energy to what doesn't matter. Your brain rewires, your nervous system calms, and your presence becomes a force. Toxic people sense this shift. They'll test you, try to pull you back into old patterns, but when you stay steady, they lose their grip. Not because you fought them, but because you've outgrown them. And here's the beautiful part. As you master yourself, you start attracting better relationships, better opportunities, better moments of peace, because you're no longer broadcasting a signal that chaos recognizes. Take my friend Maria as an example. She used to be surrounded by people who drained her, friends who thrived on gossip, a boss who played favorites. She started practicing Stoic discipline, focusing on her work, setting clear boundaries, and spending time in solitude to reflect. She didn't announce her changes, she lived them. Over a year, her life transformed. Her old friends drifted away, unable to connect with her new calm. New people, grounded, supportive, started showing up. Her boss began respecting her more, not because she demanded it, but because her presence commanded it. Maria didn't just find peace, she became it. Here's how you can start mastering yourself today. Begin with one small act of alignment. Choose a value, like clarity or courage, and make one decision that reflects it. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes early to plan your day, or saying no to a conversation that doesn't serve you. Do this daily for a month and reflect on how it changes your energy. Ask yourself, who am I becoming? You'll find that as you align within, the world around you adjusts. Chaos fades, not because it's gone, but because you've risen above it. You've just walked through a journey with us at ZENLIGHT, a journey from setting inner boundaries to mastering yourself, from surviving chaos to creating peace. The Stoics taught us that true power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. Every pause you take, every moment you choose your focus, every action you align with your values, it's a step toward a life where chaos no longer has a seat at your table. This isn't a quick fix, it's a quiet revolution, and it starts with you, right now, in this moment. Here's my challenge to you. Pick one practice from today's episode. Maybe it's pausing for 5 seconds before reacting, or spending 5 minutes focusing on your breath. Try it for 7 days and see how it shifts your energy. Then come back to ZENLIGHT and share your story in the comments below. How did it feel to protect your peace? What changed in your life? Your experience could inspire someone else to take that first step. If this episode resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next dive into Stoicism and self-improvement. Together, let's build a life that's not just peaceful, but powerful. Protect your peace, and we'll see you in the next episode. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, applying these Stoic and self-improvement principles is more crucial than ever. Social media, workplace stress, and constant notifications can pull you into chaos faster than you realize. Start small. Set a daily peace ritual, like 10 minutes of screen-free time to breathe or journal. When you feel triggered by a rude email, a heated text thread, or a stressful news cycle, pause and ask, is this worth my energy? Use technology mindfully. Mute notifications from draining group chats or unfollow accounts that spark anxiety. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, and don't be afraid to say no to those who don't. Your peace is your power. Guard it fiercely.